Hello folks, LA Little here with TA Today, bringing you neoclassical technical analysis on a regular basis, giving you trading ideas, setups, and thoughts about where this market is and where it's going. Let's get into it. Hey folks, LA here. As many of you probably know, I've been on vacation, but I'm back. And man, just in time, because this market has gone through some dynamic changes this week. Now, if you remember, the Treasury came out and said, hey, we're going to buy long-dated bonds, put pressure on them, right? Increase the demand, and we're going to sell short-dated, right, to finance that. And so we're going to borrow on the short end, sell on the long end, and we're going to do some yield curve control. Well, what did that do? That reminded everybody that the dollar is nothing more than a fiat currency, and like any other of the fiat currency, they're all in a pool, and they're all slowly sinking to the bottom. And that sent people elsewhere. I've got the S&P 500. We'll start there, and then I'll go back to that idea I just told you about. But what I want to focus on here is what's happening in the general indexes as a result of that. Now, when that was announced, that was this day here, and you see the spike up. But what happened? You get a topping tail. You go up, you come down, you top, get a push down the next day. Today, you try to push up, you get over that little high, and you're back down again. Folks, this is going lower. S&P's going lower, as are the other indexes. And if I pop in the retest regen here, you can see it's coming back into all these bullish retest regens that haven't been tested. And so it's going to get a bounce as a result of that. Now, what I'd like to show you is in that same ideal, if I go to the NDX has already gotten its bounce, right? And it's already came into that bullish retest regen. Let me grab this here. It's already came into that bullish retest regen once, twice. Didn't get much of a push here. Probably going to come in again, probably going to fail, right? So I had thought that, until the Treasury did what they did, I had thought that the NDX was going to make a run to the high, make its top, and then everything else would top with it. It doesn't look like that's what's going to happen. And if you go to the Russell, the small caps, you got the same sort of picture here. They came into a bullish retest regen, got their bounce today, which is what they should do, but now they're going to probably sink back in, and they're going to test a lower one, get another bounce. So what is this telling you? It's telling you that you're going to see this consolidation distribution type action taking place up here at the highs. That's what's taking place, and that's what's going to continue to take place because everything has shifted, and that's because of the rates. Here's your Treasury yields, 10-year yields. Where are they? They're sitting. This is when Bessent said what he's going to say on the Treasury. They spike down, right? And what do? They turn around and they're right back at the highs, trying to break higher. If you look at them on the weekly, they've actually broken higher. And so over here on the weekly, you can see the breakout, right? And on the monthly, they've got the breakout taking place as well. And they're about to break another one here. And so you can see what's happening here, right? This whole picture has changed. If you go to the long end of the curve, and I don't have the yield one up, but I've got the TLT up, you can see the TLT got the big spike when Bessent said what he said, right? But what has it done? It's just drifted right back in. Why is that? They don't believe him. He's talking a big show. Yeah, he's going to put an extra $2 billion out there, $4 billion total, to buy. This is I don't know, $20 trillion market or something. It's a drop in the bucket. And you can see the breakdown that was occurring. That's what caused the action. He's trying to get this thing to lift. He's going to have to do a lot more. If he does, he's going to goose all the heavy metals, the Bitcoins, all of those things that have value, right? That are not going to depreciate as this depreciates. Before we get to that, let's pop into one other idea. Next week, you got NVDA reporting. NVDA had, and this is critical because NVIDIA had this big run, has had a big run, but you can see it's been pretty congested up here. If NVIDIA can't get back over this top, right? It's going to go after the low and try to break it. And this is a big deal because NVIDIA is such a huge weighting of what? The SOXX. Go to the SOXX, right? Part of the reason the NDX can't lift is because the SOXX can't lift. Now, the SOXX has been fascinating because they had this retest region, or they had this swing point high that they were trying to get over. Tested over it, couldn't get over it. There was a bearish retest region here. They got over it. I thought it was going to hold, but it didn't. Drop back down. Now it's testing this low again. If it breaks the low, it goes after the next low. So this is a huge weighting in the NDX. Also affects the S&P. But if it can't find itself, which right now it's having a hard time, and NVIDIA is going to be the key next week, then that swing point low is going to get tested and broken. And it actually needs to get broken because the MTTFs are extended, grossly extended, right? Let's go to the stuff that's moving. I'm going to go to gold. Look at gold. I've got it on a weekly here. Look at this spike in gold, 7%, 7.6, 0.76, and 5.5. So you roughly got 13, 14% in what, a 3-week period. You break over a swing point high this week. That will show up today. You'll get an arrow changing from bearish to sideways. And what are you doing? You're doing a bearish retest regen. You get over it. That gets wiped out. That tells you that what was down is probably sideways at worst, potentially back up. This has changed, folks. This has turned. It looks to me like this has actually turned finally. And so I'm an accumulator of this, no longer on the sidelines. And I started accumulating. Actually, I was fortunate. I got in here on this push up. So, you know, we've got a little bit of room between us now and the bottom. The problem right now is you've had an extension, right? You got a gap, and a gap, right? Usually it's 3 gaps. You get the takeaway, the expansion one, and the exhaustion. And this is probably the exhaustion ones that are taking place up here. There's actually at 4 now. My take is this swing point high, you're going to potentially come back in and test. How deep does it get? Well, it probably closes that gap for sure. You got the big bars here on these two. Let me clean it back up a little bit. You got the big bar here on this one. So you got support here and there. And so my take is you could come from 423 back to 408 using the GLD as a proxy, or maybe 413. So maybe you're going to drop, 2.5%, maybe as much as 3.5. That's gold. Silver hasn't been as strong, and it will pick up pace though, but it's starting to do exactly that. And you can see the extension that is starting to take place here. A little ABCD structure in place. Pushes to 44.5. I'm sorry, that's the bearish one. Here's the one, 62.4, just hit it. So this has done what it needed to do. We'll probably get some sort of a retrace on it as well. And if I go to the gold miners, these things have gone ballistic, right? They were up, we were talking about gold up 20%, 17% or something. This is up 21 and 14. So you got a 35% rise in the same amount of time that gold moved, 15% or whatever the number was now, I forgot. But look at this spike. So GDX just got over this swing point high, wiped out this bearish retest regen. So again, what was down is sideways at worst, potentially up, and in this case is up because it just got over a break here. That's going to turn this trend to sideways for now. I would think you're going to get a retrace here. How deep? Let's go back to the daily and see if we can figure that out. And on the daily, well, you got these 3 bars up. So I think this 94 area is game. Maybe this overlap 96.5. So you could get a 5% pullback. So GDX, I would look for a pullback there. I wouldn't be chasing this at this point. It's too late. Let's go to other things that were benefiting, and I don't even have it in here, so let's add it. Bitcoin. Let's do Bitcoin first. That's the most widely respected one. Here's your takeoff, and I did tell members to buy back here, and we were just fortunate enough. Actually, it was on this bar as we broke out. Right, we got over this swing point high. Then it ended up just blowing these away as volume escalated, and this thing went to the moon. This is a, what, 63 to 78? That's, I don't know, what is that, 15 on 63, 20%, roughly? Yeah, 60, yeah, almost 20%, 18%. Pretty good move in a short period of time. If you look at the longer term though, this is what's most curious to me is you still got this big bearish retest region, this big spike down. Now it did test over it, right? Got over it here, and you know, at the time, right, into this bearish retest region. Now this is where it broke this low right here. Now it's coming back up to try and break this. This is still going to be heavy supply. So I think Bitcoin's probably done about what it's going to do on this particular move, and it's going to get a setback. What I don't know yet, and I'm not convinced of yet, is that the turn is in. We do definitely have, you know, because of this swing point high breaking, we've definitely turned to sideways. Can we get over this and make it bullish? That's going to take a little bit more work. Maybe we're going to get there. I don't know. So the jury's still out in my mind as to whether or not this has turned. So again, if you're looking to what happened this week, you know, the case that we have is that we have a regime change. What is that change? It's no longer the AI. You know, that was what drove us to start with. And actually, you know, before I finish, let's go and see, you know, talking about the AI, it's not AI infrastructure, semiconductors as much right now. It's moving to what benefits from it, and that's IBB, right? Biotechnology. Look at this massive move now. I believe I did a video. If I didn't, I know I wrote articles on this breakout here and said, you know, this is a breakout on multiple time frames, monthly, weekly. It doesn't have to come back, and it didn't, right? Got a little bit of a retrace here and then just blew out the top side again. This is going to continue. It still has huge ABCD structures to go. And so this is benefiting. If you're not in this, you need to find a way to get in it. This is where the money is going to continue to go. Now let's finish up the last thought. What we have out here is we have a regime change. We have Bessent telling us we've got problems on the long end of the curve. We've got issues with debt. We've known that. It's just been a background problem. Well, now it's front and center. So when we were worried about oil before, now we're worried about rates. And what can bring rates down? A slowing economy. Don't want that to happen. We're running this economy as hot as we can with the AI. We're pushing money like crazy, $4 trillion a year deficit, I think it is now. And you know, we're trying to run this economy as hot as possible. So until we get a slowdown in the economy, maybe that comes after the midterms. It ain't going to come before it. This is where the money's going to go. It's going to shift. It's already shifted, and it did a massive shift, and it does it fast when it does it. It's going to get a retrace. When it does, you want to get on the retrace, right? That's what you've got to do, because it's going to continue. It's not going to stop. This is where the money's shifting to. It's shifting out of other things into here. That tells me that I don't want to be a buyer of indexes. These indexes are going to be dead money. You know, we don't have the structure for a huge decline, right? But we do have the structure for a sideways market potentially to set up. And we'll have to see if it does that, right? Right now it's here. Once it tests these, then potentially it can come break that. But for now, you know, we just know that this is where the money is coming from. Where's it going? Things that hurt you if you drop them on your foot, with the exception of Bitcoin, which I guess a Bitcoin could drop on your foot too. But the point is that it's going into real assets, right? You need to move to real assets if you don't have any exposure there. And one last real asset I'll just highlight, I did another video just a few minutes ago on it, is uranium. This is where most of my real assets are. Took off today, up 5%. You know, it hasn't had a huge run yet. It's just getting started. 3, 4, it's about 8% the last 3 weeks when everything else was up 15, 20, 30. But still, it's done what it's needed to do, and that is it's just about to break out. This thing's turned. This is a good place to look as well. Okay, folks, have a great one. Stay safe. If you like what I do, give me a like. Tell a few friends, colleagues. I appreciate it. Thank you for being there. Take care.